Hey everyone, it's Saturday, January 16th. It's just after 3 p.m. and the temperature right now is 4 degrees Celsius. I'm currently walking east along Queen Street, and that is the intersection of Queen and Yonge just up ahead. And the plan for this one is to head on over to what many consider to be one of Toronto's roughest neighborhoods, and that is Moss Park. And I'll take a look around and explore that neighborhood this afternoon. So this here is Yonge Street. There's a look north. And now I'm on Queen Street East. That was Queen Street West where I started, but once you cross over Yonge, you're officially on the east side of downtown. And the neighborhood I'm heading to, Moss Park, has a few different definitions as to what the boundaries are. I generally consider it to be bounded by Jarvis Street to the west and Parliament Street to the east, Dundas Street to the north, and Queen Street to the south. Here's a Mercedes whose turn signals don't seem to be working. I think they come optional on that particular brand of car, just based on what I've observed in the city. And that is St. Michael's Hospital, just across the street. According to the City of Toronto's website, they have Moss Park extending to the north all the way up to Carlton Street. And going south as far as Eastern Avenue, but I've yet to come across anyone in the city who would consider those areas to be part of Moss Park. There's a look at the 501 Queen Street streetcar, and that is going all the way to Neville Park. That's just in front of the R.C. Harris water treatment plant. And there's the Metropolitan United Church. So right where I started, at Queen and Yonge, there is Queen Station. So Queen or Dundas, which is one stop to the north, would be the closest stops to Moss Park. I think that guy just said Johnny Strides. I'm certainly getting recognized more often these days. And this here is Church Street. I'm not sure what this car is trying to do. Makes you a little uncomfortable as a pedestrian when you see something like that on the street. And as I was saying, Moss Park is considered one of the roughest or sketchiest downtown neighborhoods. And it actually has the highest crime rate in the city of Toronto, or at least a violent crime rate. Although it should be mentioned that relative to many other major North American cities, that's still quite low. And I've never considered the area to be unsafe. This area I'm in right now is known as the Garden District. And it's named that after the Allen Gardens, which is to the northeast of here. It's worth noting this is the third day of the province's stay-at-home order. Although, of course, you are allowed outside to exercise. And I don't really notice much of a change in pedestrian activity or behavior. So this here is Queen and Jarvis. This would be the start of the Moss Park neighborhood. And right there is the Moss Park Armory. That's used by several regiments of the Canadian Armed Forces. I think that's their primary reserves.
Hey, what you doing?
And back in 2018, during a particularly cold snap we were experiencing, it was also used as an emergency shelter. So it provided a warm night's sleep for 100 people during that time. We've had a rather mild winter though. And just up here on the left is Moss Park itself, where the neighborhood gets its namesake. There's a Canadian Armed Forces vehicle. It's kind of a neat sight. And there is Moss Park itself, which has tennis courts, a baseball field, and on the east end is a recreational center that has basketball courts and a swimming pool. There used to be a large estate on that end, owned by the Allen family, but that was demolished in the early 60s to make way for a large housing project and to build the park and the surrounding area itself. And the intersection I'm approaching, Queen and Sherbourne, is one of the most notorious in the city. I've mentioned it before, but it's a rather common sight to see police cars and ambulances in the area. And just to the south of this intersection on Sherbourne Street is an overdose prevention site. And that is not operated by the City of Toronto, but rather the South Riverdale Community Health organization or center, can't quite remember, but it started as a tent and then became a trailer and was operating not in compliance with city and federal laws. But it was such a badly needed service, it was made permanent, and they moved in just down Sherbourne. It's not uncommon to see food being handed out in this area. And just across the street there is a shelter that's run by the Salvation Army. And there's the community center itself. I'll be looping back around this part, so we'll get a closer look at those areas. And just there on the right, actually I have time, we can take a look, will be the Overdose Prevention Center, or Safe Injection Site as it's often referred to. This is Sherbourne Street. It looks like there's a nurse outside of the facility right now. That's about as close as I'll get to that. Hello. I think that's the second time I've been recognized. That's kind of neat. This place here used to be a pub, and there's a shooting that took place, and unfortunately someone lost their life and it closed, and now it is what looks like a shawarma restaurant. Falafel, salad, and vegetarian food. Normally there's a number of interesting characters hanging around this area, and there is Alfie's. I recommend looking up some reviews of that place on Yelp if you want a good laugh. And just up ahead is Kim's Convenience, which is where the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation sitcom is based. Although I'm pretty sure it's just used for exterior shots. You can also find it on Netflix. I don't know where Americans would find it. Probably on Netflix or Prime. And this is Seaton Street, which gets cut off by a parking lot, but I think it continues on the other side of Shooter Street. And just on the left here are three rather large apartment buildings. Those are known as the Moss Park Apartments. And they were completed in 1961. They're three 16-story towers. And they are run by Toronto Community Housing. So that's a low-cost public housing facility. So I'm going to walk over to Parliament Street and then north up to Shooter, and I'll head along west and we'll cut through this housing complex. The east side of downtown is also known for Regent Park, which also features low cost and public housing, as well as St. Jamestown. Regent Park has undergone a significant revitalization in recent years. I plan on going there and doing a video through that neighborhood as well as St. Jamestown. So this next street is Parliament Street. So I would consider this to be the eastern boundary of Moss Park. You could turn south there and take that down to the Distillery District. Or you could head up north through Cabbagetown and then on to St. Jamestown. Parliament terminates at Bloor Street East. There's a look at the Moss Park Apartments. I'm not sure if there's any plans to revitalize or redevelop this neighborhood, similar to what Regent Park or Alexandra Park have gone through. There's the June Colwood Center for young women. There's a number of shelters and community outreach type facilities in this area. But as you can see, it's really not that bad. I think the reputation certainly makes it out to be a lot worse than it is. Here is Shooter Street. So that would be Regent Park, just off in the distance there. Now I'm walking west along the south side of Shooter. You can see there is a bike lane installed here. There is Berkeley Street. There's some gorgeous old Victorian style homes on that street. Well, let's head in and take a look a bit around the grounds of these apartments. So you could cut through here down to Queen Street East. It doesn't look like people really utilize these outdoor patio spaces in front of these lower units. I would imagine theft might be a big reason for that. So I'm not sure of the exact makeup of what's available in these buildings in terms of if it's entirely public housing or if there's just low income and affordable rentals available here. I'm sure someone will point that out in the comments. I've always sort of thought of it as community housing. So that is Kim's Convenience I'm heading towards. It is a touch bizarre to see things so quiet outside. There's where the residents would dispose of their furniture and recycling. So we're back to Shooter Street. I was going to head west here, back over to Moss Park, but I think I'll head north up Seaton Street to Dundas, and then I will take Sherbourne south back into Moss Park. So it'll give us a chance to see a rather nice side of the neighborhood. I didn't really have a particular route in mind for this walk. There's a really cute old house. So this is pretty much a southern extension of the Cabbagetown neighborhood. These downtown neighborhoods are known for the many laneways that run behind these homes and connect the streets to one another. There's a house for sale. 102 Seaton Street. If I remember to, I'll look that one up when I get home. And there's one for rent. You can actually visit that address at the bottom there, and that'll show you the details of what's available in that particular property. I'm going to take a wild stab and say that home we saw for sale will be 1.8 million. I have no idea what the square footage is. Just a total guess. And I have no doubt a number of these homes have heritage status. There's another one for sale. Toronto Garden Inn, bed and breakfast. That's neat, and I think that might be the Seaton house on George Street, just behind here. Actually, that doesn't make sense. I think the Seaton house is north of Dundas Street. There's a look to the east down Dundas Street East. And now we head towards another of the so-called notorious or sketchy intersections in the city. That would be Dundas and Sherbourne. This here is a drop-in center for women who have mental health issues and substance abuse issues. I think there's also a facility in there for men. It's always an interesting time walking across that side of the street. And this side, one of these churches is often handing out soup and hot food. And this is Dundas and Sherbourne Street. This place here, King Palace, is well known. It's quite common to see taxi drivers here late at night grabbing a meal. So I'm currently walking south down the west side of Sherbourne Street. And I think this building here is run by Toronto Community Housing. There's a lot of new shiny towers around Jarvis and Dundas. Looks like it's moving day for someone. This is Shooter and Sherbourne, and that's a lot of pigeons up there. Wow, look at that. Someone was giving them a pretty big meal, it looks like. So this patch of Sherbourne here has a rather rough reputation. I bet the cashiers in this Dollarama have some interesting stories to tell. I think they're done their meal.
John, what is it?
Sophia, you stupid.
My baby!
You screw up.
Oh, that's my girl.
And there we go. It looks like some soup is being handed out. That was not there the last time I walked by here. There's a little alley. I bet those walls have some stories to tell. And there is the John Innes Community Center. That's where you'll find a swimming pool and basketball courts and other facilities. Okay, so this is a familiar area. I walked along this part of Queen earlier, but what we'll do is just take a stroll through the park itself. before ending this video. I can't go through this area here as it's caged off. I actually don't know why that is or what they're doing with this particular spot. The area just to the south of here, the St. Lawrence Market neighborhood, is quite nice. And has certainly gentrified quite a bit over recent years. But Queen Street East itself remains a bit patchy. This is kind of what Parkdale used to be like not too long ago. There's a look at the Armory. There seems to be less and less tents in this park. Versus what it was like in the summer. Let's look at the financial district directly into the sun. Yes, I am. Good, you? Yeah, I'm just recording a walk right now.
Oh, okay.
Not a live one. You too. Have a good afternoon.
See you on YouTube later.
Tomorrow morning, you can see this video. Cheers. That was the third time this walk I've been recognized. And what's interesting is because I wasn't sure how many people would be on the streets, particularly given the nature of this neighborhood, I did decide to wear my mask and just keep it on for this walk. Normally when I'm outdoors, I don't wear it. It's quite easy to keep your distance from other people. And yet people are still recognizing me. It's really hard to notice the camera I'm holding too. Okay, so I'm just gonna head north here up Pembroke Street, up to Dundas, and then I think I'll call it a walk from there, as there's still a bit more of the neighborhood to explore. I know I said I would end it here, but I pretty much make these things up as I go. We just have to wait for the world's slowest driver to carry on his way down Shooter Street. So this is Pembroke Street. This place is for rent, but there's no address on the view it sign. There's the Gabriel Roy Public School. I'm assuming that's a French school. École élémentaire. Élémentaire? Sorry, my French is absolutely terrible. I think these footsteps here are for parents waiting for their kids after school. Pretty sure these would not have been here prior to the pandemic. And here we go, Dundas Street East. I hope you enjoyed this walk around the Moss Park neighborhood. There's a look at Fillmore's. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you wish to support the channel, there are links to my Instagram and Patreon accounts in the description, and you can check out channel memberships on the main YouTube page. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. And just a side note, I think what I'll do is I'll record a bonus video just after this and upload that to my Stumbles channel at some point in the future, so you can also check that out. That'll just be my walk from here back to a subway station. All right, I will again catch you on the next one.